learning kit, and basically what this kit does is it provides at least 3 different ways for kids to learn coding. And it starts off with the easiest, which is your color codes, which the color codes are right here. And each one of these separate little color codes tells the robot to do something different. And this is the most basic form of trying to learn how to code. And it basically starts off with logic of telling people, if you put this here and this here and this here, what does the robot do? So the robot is this little guy right here, guy or girl, whatever it is, little bot. And basically to turn it on, you just click on the little button. This on the bottom is a sensor. This sensor will read the track. On the top, it has a Bluetooth signal that can go out to talk to your devices and your phones and your tablets and things like that. It's probably best to use a tablet for these, but a phone works as well. Without a phone or anything though, you can set the device here, and you see it gets to this portion right here, and it doesn't know what to do because that's the portion where the kids fill in the code.
Oh, okay.
Right, so I print these out in color, and then I let them choose what they want their code in, just as like a starting little mechanism. And if you can see, we printed some out. I put all 4 of them on one page so that we could get a bunch of different examples, and I let the kids kind of go at it. And as you can see, they did some really interesting type of things. And let's see. So it will follow, and depending on, yeah, see, now it wants to do and it seems like if you don't put the marks exactly right next to each other, it will decide on its own where it wants to go. And so that's one of the things that kids are learning is that, hey, if you're not specific, it's gonna do what it wants rather than what you want it to do, which is one of the lessons in coding. And so this one right here, this is pretty cool. This is the tornado catcher, and let me see if I can just kind of start it off. Oh, it's gonna want to go past here. Let me start here. Okay, so this is an example of what happens when you put a specialized code in. That's the code to make it do a tornado.
Oh.
And that code is listed on here, and in order to make it do that, you have to put the code in exactly or else it won't work. Right, and so these markers right here are how you interface.
Are they special markers or are they
You know, I think they're just expensive markers.
just expensive?
I think they
Just
are.
charge you more.
But I do think that they have to be the exact color or the robot won't read them.
Right,
Won't read
And
them.
so I do think they're exact, and I think they probably did that on purpose so they could
But
sell
there's
markers.
nothing in the ink that
Yeah,
special.
not that I
Okay.
think, no.
It's just-
yeah, no.
Yeah.
The
It
robot
just reads it.
recognizes the
Yes.
color.
And then this right here charges it. So this goes into this little thing right here. And you just plug it right into here. I don't want to break it.
Don't break it.
And then you plug this into any phone charger or tablet charger, and it'll charge it up. It takes about half hour to charge, and then you'll get a couple hours of play out of it. So it's well worth within the range. So this is one way that they can code, okay? Now the next way they can code, let me show you here, is there's an app right here. And this app is called Ozobot Evo, because that's what the thing is. And so the first thing we do is we hit the little connect button here, and it says to power on our Evo, right? It says to power it on. So I'm gonna click on the little button on the side, and anyone that wants to use it in this mode will have to do that. And then it says completed, Evo is powered on. So then it gives me the Evo right here, and I click on it. Then I click next, and it says I'm connected, because if not, it has the little disconnect sign there. And so then there's multiple ways. So this very first thing is called drive. Drive is pretty much what all the kids want to do right off the bat. They want to drive it. They want to make it go. So there's a couple little different buttons. There's a hold button to where you can go like this and just let it drive. This kind of gets them just used to the robot and like what can it do, right? It lets it turn around. You can switch colors. Like watch, see the robot, how it's switching colors?
The lights?
Yes, and this is important because when you're coding, you can tell it that it switches a color on your command. So basically when we start the coding process, we'll tell it, hey, turn colors, then do this thing. That kind of lets them know what's coming next. That way they can kind of keep track of it in line of how it works. And so the first thing is getting them to know the robot. So first thing I did was let them drive it around. Second thing I did was let them work on the colors right here. And the next thing that we're going to do is, you see, so there's color code chart, so where they can see what all the color codes do. But the next thing is, instead of hitting explore, I'm going to click learn. So there's a classroom section here. In the classroom section, it comes with default learning things that they want them to run through and try and emulate, so that they can emulate what is already being taught to them. The second thing is Blockly, and this is pretty much where the meat and potatoes are. And it wants it to be done on a tablet, because it says, hey, tablets are a lot bigger. But it says get started. Now this is a sample code that I've put in to this. And as you can see, this is kind of more coding than just drawing stuff. And so the thing that I told it to do is I've told it to repeat 2 times. I want it to move forward at a distance of 1 step at the speed of medium, and I want it to do police car lights, and then I want it to move forward again, do 1 step, and then I want it to play the surprise, which is just a sound that it makes. And I told it to do it twice. And so if I click on this little programs button here, and I click run your program, it does the program that's in the phone. It's very basic, very simple. I only made this program just to show you guys what it could do.
Yeah.
The kids haven't even started on this yet, but the code club that they're working on right now is completely built around the block base. So that block base of coding is after this type of coding right here, where you're just doing colors, is the second version of where do you go before you actually can click on these and you can edit them and you can actually write the code. So instead of just doing a block and telling it to go into the block mode and just drag and drop and then you're going to see what it does, you can actually edit the code to where you can actually write it. Okay. And so this is a primer into that. So it's all basically starting at, hey, let's get kids at the early ages to be able to get them to understand the logic of coding, then move them into the blocks. Then the third phase is getting into writing code. And so this is an essential step. And let me tell you, the kids love this because it's something that they can do hands-on. If I just tell them, hey, go watch a video and then reproduce code, which is what we're doing right now, they can do that. But nothing's funner than having access to an actual robot and actually being able to do that type of stuff. So the last way that we can learn to code, as I kind of put on, is you can do all these different things where it says intro to color codes, get to know the Evo, get to know your Ozobot, and basically what you're going to do is you're going to click on the learn and you're going to go to this classroom and you're going to be able to do the classroom stuff. So the first things we're doing is working with this, teaching them how to drive the robot. Second thing we're doing is letting them get into the dropping the blocks. And then the third thing is going to be getting into the classroom and doing that type of stuff so that they can repeat what they've done. And then taking this information and merging it with the code club that we're in right now, provided by Chevron, which allows them to do all of this stuff on a computer screen. So this is kind of like the basics that's needed to get them to that part, which is why it was so important that we kind of got this.